Great. Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to our August 2025 SAGE Live. My name is Natalie Geis. I'm a materials scientist and I work at SLAC National Accelerator Lab. I'll be the Master of Ceremonies today. We are talking about internships at National Labs. And before we begin the session, let me briefly explain what the SAGE journey is and how SAGE Live fits in that journey. The SAGE Journey is a program where our mission is to inspire and encourage students to explore STEM careers in their future. We do this by offering free summer camps, paid internships, professional growth sessions, and many opportunities to connect with professionals who care about you and your future. The SAGE Live is part of the SAGE Journey, and it is an online gathering of students who have attended summer camp and are curious about the next steps in their SAGE journey. It's a time to reconnect with SAGE volunteers and held via Zoom between the months of August and May. The topics covered are relevant to your journey, whether it's career related, such as designing your life, resume workshops, or how to prepare for an interview, or new and exciting topics in science and engineering, such as quantum computing, AI, and machine learning. Let's get started then. Today, we're featuring SAGE alumni who have completed SAGE internships this summer in 2025. Each one has a unique story, and so I encourage you to capture something from each intern's experience that might be relevant to you. Whether it's their college major, whether it's the project that they worked on, or a professional growth topic or skill that you're curious about. There will be time after each speaker to ask questions specific to their presentation. If you're wondering about application deadlines, opportunities at each lab, note that we will host a SAGE Live in October when more of these questions or those types of questions will be addressed by those speakers from the laboratories themselves. So today is a great time to talk about the experiences that our SAGE interns had themselves, and let's keep the focus on that. Our first speaker is Emily Hahn. Emily is a SAGE alumna who standout quality is her initiative. Not only did she make her internship this year happen, but she reached out to laboratory scientists and engineers in the hopes of lining up some project opportunities for the coming school year. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'll start off by screen sharing, but and I'll give my introduction once I get to that slide. Um, Let me present. So my project here was to design the module. Let me just fix this. Okay. My project was to design the modular electrical covers for the Facet 2 modulators. So that might not make sense, but I'll get to that in a second. Just to give a little bit scope about me, I am Emily Hahn. I'm a UC Berkeley student going into my third year, mechanical engineering student. And I'm currently a mechanical intern under the EED department, so the electronics engineering department under John Hudgick. And it's mainly doing the mechanical work around that. So all these electrical parts, they need housing around them or like chassis and whatnot to house these electrical components. And my job is to just design those components, fabricate them, and then install them. And on top of that, I also was a part of the SAGE program in 2021. But that was a virtual year, so it's great seeing all the campers coming this year. And yeah, it was great coming to actually see Slack in person this year and work here. And I guess outside of work, just fun facts, I did hula for 4 years. I have 2 dogs, grew up in the Bay Area, and I generally have a passion for design, whether it be like mechanical design or it be, I guess, just like drawing and whatnot. So I'll move on to actual more technical stuff and then I'll go into professional development. Just my project scope was to support linear the linear accelerator modulator systems, which is just like power systems basically. And generally I just wanted to protect technicians from high voltage circuitry, allow safe access as well as ensuring that these electrical parts were safely held. But to give a general insight of why this safety was needed, there these modulators have a 50 kilovolt DC output and generally 600 VAC input. So these are very high voltage systems that these technicians work on pretty regularly. I eat lunch with these technicians, so it was great kind of collaborating with them to hear their stories about how these systems are dangerous. Some of them have been electrocuted by them before, so I seen a need to protect them from these systems. And I started on a design process, talking to these technicians, whatnot, CADing up the modulator in general. So when I say CAD, it's a 3D design software. We specifically use Solid Edge here. If you go into mechanical engineering, I'm sure you'll hear a lot about CAD, but I learned how to use the software for the first time. It's a sheet metal software. And yeah, so I did a lot of skills development and spending time really learning what I needed to do in order to actually be successful with this project. Another thing I did a lot of work on McMaster, which is where you buy a lot of hardware components. It was great doing this in my job because I don't really have any like money constraints like I do in other projects I've done in the past. So, um, yeah, I took a lot of hand measurements. So I had to go out to the gallery a lot and take measurements as well as taking them on the CAD itself. Um, I came up with my final design, which was three different covers, as shown here. But to give more of a perception of what that actually looks like, it looks like this within the 3D space. And then even taking it further, this was my first prototype. The first cover here, second cover here, third cover right here. Um, yeah. So these were very much needed because whenever working on the inside of the door, like the door would be closing onto them and easily electrocuting them. So it was something needed and something we're going to be implementing across all 80 of the modulators within the Facet 2 gallery. So Facet 2 is a project that I'm sure you guys will hear about in a second because I know one of my fellow interns is working there, but it's there, yeah. So there's a lot of design features I had to consider when doing this project, which I'll skip over because it's very technical, but there's a lot of different considerations I had to think about when designing this. Also, I had to think about the installation process, so like fabrication aids, one being a drill template, but I'll skip over that as well. I learned a lot of engineering principles along the way. I had to create a bill of material. I learned tolerancing. I learned design for manufacturing. I went into these manufacturing shops, which Slack has around 4 manufacturing shops that I had to do some work in. They're pretty cool. Here's a picture of it in the left corner, but just physically manufacturing these parts. So I also had to do some simulation and design validation. So I did basic FEA on these parts to make sure that if like a worker fell on it, if someone accidentally kicked the thing, then like the form, it's not going to break. Yeah. So now going on to professional growth. I'm sorry, saying my connection's unstable. Can everybody hear me? I'm just gonna keep
Yes,
going.
yes, we
Yeah.
can
Okay,
hear.
sounds good. Going on to professional growth. Um, this was more of the stage realm. We did a lot of Miss CEO sessions. So we had a Stanford professor come in, Nita, and she taught us different sessions. I'm going to specifically focus on the networking lesson, which was the fourth session, I believe. Um, I learned about building authentic and lasting connections and to ask thoughtful questions, to network wherever you are, and to really make time to those connections. And we talked specifically about finding sponsors. So I know I'll talk about my example, this LMBL Slack Sage Connect. I know it was also something that Natalie just mentioned in the beginning where I was trying to find a future internship probably at Berkeley Lab because I go to Berkeley. So during the year, I would love to continue my DOE journey, my Sage journey. So um, I'll give my example. I reached out to Loy, which I consider as one of my sponsors. I mean, I reached out to her for this internship, and I also reached out to her to hopefully connect me to someone at Berkeley Lab so I can maybe find an opportunity there during the year. So I did that, and she connected me with Faith, who is the SAGE coordinator over at Berkeley Lab. And I talked with her, and she let me know that I should find a specific mentor and reach out to them in order to connect me with an internship there. So I actually went to LinkedIn and I connected with the director of the Bella Center, which is another laser accelerator over at Berkeley Lab. And I connected with him and just chatted with him on LinkedIn. We set up a meeting, and I had a meeting with him and a couple other Bella Center directors. And basically, they let me know that of like all their mechanical challenges and how I can integrate in, but they don't really control the mechanical side. So then I was routed over to the engineering director, which I actually already was connected with because I do work at Berkeley Lab through a car club I'm on, but I went and toured their facilities and talked to him, and now I'm pretty sure I have something in line for the fall. Um, Not specifically Sage, but working there during the fall just from that Sage Connect I had from the beginning. So yeah, what I've learned from this, don't be afraid to follow up. Some of these people become unresponsive, they're very busy. But email them, follow up. You are worth their time. Um, don't be afraid to do that. It really does get you far. And I guess going on to key advice, mentorship is gold. I really think that one of the biggest things during this internship was the mentorship you have. I don't think at other internships you'll have the same mentorship. Slack is very big on one-on-one mentorship. You'll have a mentor walking you through everything. But yeah, it was a really big part of my internship. I know I'll give my acknowledgement to John in a second. And following up matters. Really, I following up matters, yeah. And be visible with your work, share progress with your team, and it makes it easier for your mentors become your sponsors who advocate for you when you basically advocate for them by being visible with your work. Feedback is a gift. Really take feedback to heart. You grow the fastest by learning from your mistakes and whatever advice you have. And then a takeaway for you, your voices and ideas matter even as a student, and keep building your support network. Get that LinkedIn running. Um, yeah, really make connections with your mentors if you do take advantage of this opportunity you have, because they will really go a long way in the end. I know I think Sage was one of my biggest networks that I've had. I mean, I came in during 11th or 10th grade, and now I'm still with them to this day as a third year engineer. And they've really been helpful. I mean, they got me this internship here at Slack, which is such a huge opportunity. So, yeah, support network, especially Sage. Acknowledgements, that kind of leads into this, but biggest thank you to Sage Program for funding this internship, for giving me my first introduction to engineering back in high school. You know, I never had engineering classes. It was really great having that week going through all those STEM subjects, engineering, and really showing me what I wanted to do in the future. Without Sage, I wouldn't be here today. I'm really grateful for all the exposure, what the rest of Slack does, the connections I made with people across the lab, and the professional development opportunities that they've helped me grow. Big thank you to my mentor, John Hudgick. He really supported me through my goals inside and outside of Slack, took the time to guide me through everything that I was confused with. He answered so many questions and really made a lasting impact on my life, I think. And big shout out to the Slack Electronics Engineering Department. They were very welcoming. They really helped me through my project as well, answered any questions I need. And if you guys are interested in working with the electronics engineering department, they aren't only electronics engineering. I mean, I'm mechanical. I don't do anything with electronics themselves, but they were very supportive through that as well. But yeah, I really recommend this internship, and I really hope you guys take this opportunity because I wish I did earlier. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, I don't know how much time I took. I might have been longer, but thank you so much. And yeah, I'll stop sharing right now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Emily. And I want to say also, as much as, we put in a lot of work to make sure, Loy is helping connect our Sage alumni with folks at labs. You all do earn these internships. We aren't able to continue them if you aren't wonderful, smart, hardworking students who impress your mentors and keep them coming back. So, yes, with that said, does anyone have questions for Emily? I have some because I
Yeah,
know we have them. Oh, did someone?
yeah, just
Oh, okay. Yes. What was your favorite part about interning?
I want to say the people I met here was definitely my favorite part. Everyone is very passionate about what they do, and I don't really see that at other companies, I'm going to be honest. Um, but yeah, the people I've met, even like the other interns, I know I really got to connect with other Sage interns throughout this journey. We got to explore all the different things that other people were doing throughout the lab. And it's really cool seeing how much this company is doing past like, and we're only like 1,500 people, you know what I mean? It's so cool seeing how much we're doing, whether it be astrophysics, whether it be like civil engineering, whether it be bio research, you know? And me not being like an expert in those fields, seeing what they're doing is just so cool. And I'm like, I'm kind of contributing to this. This is awesome. But yeah, that and yeah, that
Okay, great. And maybe we can take I know there are a couple in here and it looks like a couple we can defer for later, but maybe did you meet your mentor through Sage?
yeah, I met my mentor literally first day of my internship. So I didn't know him before, like if you're asking during the Sage program. But I met him first day of my Sage program and it was great. I mean, we had a little lunch. I know Loy planned a little luncheon together and we just had a good little talk and then we went straight into business. So um met him through Sage, yeah.
Great. And I know we have other questions in the chat, but we also have more speakers to come. So I'm gonna move us on to our next speaker, Lauren. Lauren is from the Chicago area and has attended Sage Camp at Fermilab and then applied for a Sage internship here at Slack. And we're excited to hear her story. Welcome, Lauren.
Hi, sorry, just 1 second. My laptop's about to die and I need to grab my charger. You can have Emily answer 1 or 2 more questions while I do that.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, Emily, maybe what was the hardest part for during your internship?
Yeah, so there's a big learning curve, obviously. I think the biggest thing about these internships is that Sage really focuses on skill development. So obviously there's going to be a big learning curve just coming in. Um, but yeah, skill development. Obviously, I didn't know I'd never done sheet metal work before. I mean, I didn't even know that was like a big thing in my industry, but just learning how to work with sheet metal, what constraints are there, um, that was the biggest learning curve for me. I've never used Solid Edge before. So I had to spend a lot of time just going through that and working with that. So that was the hardest thing for me, but to make it more versatile amongst all fields, I mean, you're gonna have to, they're gonna set a rubric for you almost, a skills development worksheet where you're gonna have to learn a skill and it's gonna be hard going in because the whole point is to develop your skills in order to grow for the future rather than just doing what you're good at, you know? So there is going to be a learning curve, but in the end you're going to thrive. So W.
Right, and I'm not seeing Lauren right yet. So, were any of those things you felt that I should have that or others things you thought you should know before you came in, or did you feel supported in that, or you kind of were okay saying, I don't know this, or and how do I get to being proficient?
Yeah. So it really took me a second. Like I'm not used to really saying like, oh, I'm not good at this, you know, like it hurt my ego a little bit in the beginning, but it really helped me grow in the end. Your mentor is there to help you and there to help you grow through that topic and they are very willing to help you. I know it was hard for me to ask for that help in the beginning, but I know even through sessions we talked about it, having those one-on-one checks with mentors, and it's very important to like that skill growth. So yeah, learning curve, but it was not hard to reach out for help in the end. the mentor is there to help you and to help you through it. It doesn't mean that they're gonna do it for you, but they are there to help walk you through it.
Great. And I'm actually, yeah, not seeing Lauren, but we're gonna move to our next speaker. Adwita is attended Sage during the pandemic, as I think Emily said she did. And coming to Slack was familiar but new. So this was her first time at Slack in person, and we're excited to have her and have her share more about her experience.
Hi, thank you, Natalie, for the wonderful introduction. Let me just quickly get started. Okay. Um, okay. Is screen all good? Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Advita, and I did my Sage internship this past summer, and I'm super excited to share my experience with everyone here. So just a quick little introduction about myself. So I just finished up my second year at Johns Hopkins University studying chemical and biomolecular engineering, and I'll be going in my third year. And at Slack, I was part of the Battery Center, and this is just stuff straight from my resume. But outside of that, I love watching movies. I love exploring new food, new places, and new restaurants. Um, yeah, before I dive into the specifics of my project, I wanted to quickly cover my Sage journey. So as Natalie mentioned, I actually did Sage Camp in 2021, so the summer after my sophomore year of high school. And I'm from the Bay Area. I went to San Mateo High School, so pretty local. And I was super excited to be um, on campus, but unfortunately it was virtual, so that was definitely disappointing. But I was able to do my summer internship, and it was so exciting to be on Slack campus finally. And it was kind of full circle moment because I was doing my internship after my sophomore year of college. And a huge part of this was actually the Sage Live, just attending Sage Live and hearing about these internship opportunities, hearing about the different science that happens at Slack. Um, was just phenomenal and really piqued my interest in applying for internships. So I'm so happy everyone's here. And now I will talk about I'll talk about what I did at Slack. So this is a picture of me inside a glove box, and this is primarily where I spent most of my time during my internship. And before this internship, I didn't even know what a glove box was. I'd never seen one, so I had to get trained on one of these. Um, Kind of nerve-wracking just getting inside the box. But so my focus was on sodium sulfur battery cell design. Let me just, sorry. And specifically optimizing testing parameters for better battery performance. Um, so you might ask why sodium sulfur batteries matter, because before my internship, I didn't even know that this was an area of research. So I'm sure many of us are familiar with lithium ion batteries, which is the batteries we have in our cell phones and our laptops. So sodium sulfur batteries are just kind of their cousins. They're just cheaper and safer alternatives, and they're great for large scale renewable energy storage. My role specifically in this project was to test these new battery materials, collect, analyze, and present performance data. But like I mentioned, the glove box, this is where I'd assemble my coin cells. Yeah, and ran into a lot of issues. So troubleshooting with my mentors was a huge part of this internship, and I learned a lot through that. Um, I just want to quickly expand a little bit more about, oops, the data analysis portion of my internship. This was huge. So not that I was just assembling these cells, but actually collecting that data, the cycling data of your cells, and then analyzing this. So this is just one of the first graphs I made. It took me like a good 30 minutes, even though it just looks pretty standard and straightforward. It was on a software called Origin. And yeah, there are like certain standards you have to follow to be able to graph like publication ready data. Yeah, and the Battery Center actually just gave me so much exposure to the professional network in my field. So this is just a picture with some members of the Battery Center. There are a couple postdocs, grad students, the executive director, and a visiting professor who came to deliver a seminar. And the Battery Center is very tight-knit. There is weekly battery meetings, and it's just a great community to be a part of. And one of my biggest highlights of the internship was being able to operate a beam light at SSRL. So this is a picture with, we're inside the hutch actually, but this is a picture of me and two of my fellow interns, and we were doing SACs on zinc electrolytes. So for those who are not familiar, SACs is small angle X-ray scattering, and we were just analyzing the solvation shell of our zinc electrolytes. And yeah, it's for a machine learning model. Pretty cool stuff. And obviously we had a postdoc supervising us, but primarily like we were responsible for like preparing the samples, testing the samples, and collecting and analyzing data. So this is a great experience. And this wouldn't have been possible without the exposure of the Battery Center because this wasn't directly my project, but I was able to contribute. And as Emily mentioned about the Miss CEO sessions, I also want to focus on session 4, which is about the screw up versus weakness versus growth opportunity. So essentially just reframing challenges as stepping stones for growth. This was big in my internship. Um, Again, like Emily mentioned, the learning curve is huge. I want to just narrow down on one of my key challenges. So the first time I assembled a coin cell, which seems pretty straightforward, you like literally just have an anode case, cathode case, you have a spacer, separator, electrolyte, and your electrodes. So you know, all you do is stack it and apply pressure, and that's it. Like you're done. But the first time I did it, it took me over an hour to assemble just one. And by the end of my internship, I was able to bring that time down to 12 minutes. So really happy about that progress. And just another challenge that underlined my entire internship was I came from a bio research background from school and I had zero battery experience. So the extent of my knowledge about batteries was anode, cathode, electrolyte. Um, so a huge learning curve there. What made the difference for me was definitely the support of my mentors, the patience they showed with me, making me feel like no question was ever too small to ask. Um, and just telling me mistakes are okay. Like they said that they would think I was doing witchcraft if I made my first cell in 10 minutes. So yeah, and just being patient with myself and just being willing to put in the time to practice, to learn, to take the time out of my internship to read literature, to ask questions to my fellow interns, to grad students, to postdocs, just anyone you come across. Everyone's happy to help and just really here to support your growth and your journey. This is a picture of me during team meeting, and someone took a picture of me inside the glove box. Definitely in not the best posture. But yeah. So just a quick final wrap up about what I took away from my internship. This is a picture of my first day. Shout out Emily, shout out Emma, with our visitor badges right before we got our official Slack badges. And yeah, this is at the lunch that Emily mentioned earlier. Um, There's a picture of my last day after I handed off my badge, and this is with one of the grad students in my lab. And between these two pictures was 10 weeks of a lot of personal and professional growth. I got to meet so many new people. I got to hear about their experiences, learned so much new technical stuff, technical skills. And before this internship, I wasn't even really considering grad school, considering a PhD. But that's definitely something that's on the table now. And that wouldn't have been possible without this internship. But I have to mention my favorite part of the internship was everyone I met. This is my mentor, my co-mentor, and this is just our group of interns. We all sat in one row in building 57, and it was a great time. We'd go get acai bowls, we'd go have a great time, and we'd also spend a lot of time learning together. So yeah, I'm so thankful for this opportunity and wanted to thank the SAGE program, specifically Lloyd, Julia, Daniela, just everyone who made this possible, and the DOE High Energy Physics Group to make this financially feasible, and my mentors and the entire team at Slack Battery Center, Dr. Julie and Dr. Satya. Thank you so much. This is a picture of me at the Safeway near Slack that says Battery Center in front of all the batteries. But thank you. Feel free to leave any questions.
Wonderful. So I don't see any in the chat yet, but maybe you talked a little bit about, you had a bio research background and we're exploring battery topics. And so wondered maybe what is your major and kind of what made you want to transition and how did you kind of apply skills that you already had to this internship?
So my major is chemical and biomolecular engineering at Hopkins, so Chem E, but also Bio E, just combined in one major, and I kind of delved more into the bio side of things. So I was involved in immunology research on campus my sophomore year. But I wanted to, my sophomore year was also the first time I really got introduced to the Chem E side of things, where I was taking very heavy Chem E classes. Um, and that kind of got me interested in more of the engineering side of things, more math sci. Um, and yeah, the skills that I was able to bring was definitely from some of my coursework. A lot of my project was heavily about like process design, process optimization. So those skills were super relevant in my internship, but as well as professional skills that I was able to transfer over lab to lab. Um, and I guess like some laboratory skills, like you have your standard SOPs, your pipetting, just all of that. Yeah, and I think just like even though I will say the first time I walked into lab, I was so confused looking at all this equipment. But it's all a learning curve and it all gets better and then it becomes muscle memory at one point.
And it sounds like we have a couple more questions along that line of thinking, but maybe how did you get to choose or kind of how many options in that space of more material space of materials engineering were you considering?
Wait, sorry, I think you cut out. Can you repeat that question one more time?
Oh, I was maybe kind of the second part of
Mhm.
Hanjing's question about how did you get to choose and maybe, how large of a space or options how many options did you have or were you considering?
So this is kind of more specifics into the actual internship application process. So when you apply, you write your cover letter, kind of expressing your interest in certain sorts of research, and then you get matched with a mentor. So I happened to be matched with the Battery Center, and that's how I was assigned to my mentors. I was assigned to my project. Yeah.
Nice. And I think Lloyd put a little bit more on that in the chat. And maybe the last question before we move to the next speaker, did you have experience graphing your results or writing up results into presentations before you started?
I definitely did not. Like I obviously for school, graphing like as part of my college courses, I've graphed a lot for labs and stuff. But definitely not to a standard where I'm graphing data that can be potentially published into papers. So I was actually almost spoon-fed this whole entire process. I had a little orientational training about how to use the Origin software and what they're expecting of me. How to analyze the data. So I was definitely given a lot of support in this whole thing, but I also, I mean, you have to tell them what you don't know in order for your mentors to be able to help you. So I was kind of clear with that I've never done this before and just a little chat with them, and they were really supportive. Yeah, and I think this might be like a team to team thing, but my mentor really emphasized weekly team meetings. So my mentor was the PI of the lab, and we had postdocs in our group. So the postdocs interns would meet with our PI every Tuesday for about like 90 minutes, just discussing the weekly progress. And that really made sure I was up to track with what my goals were for my internship, but also making sure I was delivering results that matter.
Thank you so much. And I hear Lauren is back on the Zoom. So Lauren again is from the Chicago area and did her SAGE camp at Fermilab, but joined us this summer at Slack for an internship.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen now. Let me know if you guys can see it. Is this pulled up? Can you see it?
It's
And
loading. Yes, okay, great.
Okay. So this is my Sage internship experience. Here's a picture of all of us on the first day with the Slack banner. Some background on me. I attended the 2022 Fermilab Sage Camp, which it helped inspire me to pursue a STEM career. Here I am doing the laser diffraction activity, which I think you guys do at Slack too. And we visited the clean room and got connected with a lot of really interesting people at the lab. And I think Sage Camp really helped me consider careers in STEM. It was a big moment for me. And then some background about my college experience. I'm a rising sophomore at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. My major is civil and environmental engineering, and I'm pursuing a minor in chemistry. some activities and things I'm involved with on campus. I'm part of Engineers Without Borders, which does international infrastructure projects. And I'm also a part of Women in Civil and Environmental Engineering. Got to get that community. And some relevant classes that I think helped me when I was applying to and doing this internship was Intro to Civil and Environmental Engineering, General Chemistry 1 and 2. I also took Global Engineering Community Service, and Calculus 1, 2, and 3. And here in these pictures, that's me with my Global Community Service class in Bolivia, which was a super awesome opportunity. Me at a football game and me at a club event. And I just wanted to touch on the application process just a little bit, even though it's not the focus of this live. I applied through the Slack website after I saw a post on the Sage Instagram about this opportunity. So definitely go follow the Sage Instagram to stay up to date with all those opportunities. I worked with Loy and I submitted a resume and a cover letter. And I used the Career Center resources at my school. They have writing helpers who will help you like draft your cover letters and improve them, which I think is a really useful resource. A lot of schools have them and they're underutilized, I feel like. So I would definitely recommend that if you're looking to apply in the future. So I worked in the Facilities and Operations Division under Jo Beth Folger, who is the Chief Civil Engineer. So I was in the Civil Engineering Department. I learned softwares like AutoCAD, Bluebeam, and Smartsheet, and I also went on site walks and learned about lab operations, and I also presented on ways to incorporate AI into our workflow. Here's an example of a CAD drawing I did. This is of a trapeze support. So if you're thinking like the long accelerator gallery, these are the trapezes hanging off the ceiling that allow utilities like water or gas to flow through the building. I did a lot of drawings of infrastructure upgrades like this because Slack is currently going through a lot of renovations, especially on the gallery. So it was really cool to learn about that process. And my professional development topic is wellness during your internship. So each student got a meal card with about $1,300 on it to last us the whole internship. And that could be used at select restaurants and retail locations. And we were budgeted for about $25 a day. We also could go in the dining halls, so I often took advantage of the dining halls and brought leftovers for lunch. But an example of some of the restaurants we could use were Panda Express, Starbucks, Subway. There was a pizza place and a sushi place too. So I think that we had a good amount, like you don't need to worry about not having enough to eat on your internship. If anything, it was a struggle to spend all the dollars. So we we definitely prioritize nutrition. Um, Here's a picture of tacos I got from Zaidas, which is somewhere you can use your meal cards if you choose to internet Slack. And here's a teriyaki bowl I got from the Slack cafe. Another thing that's really important during your internship is to take care of yourself. Especially for me, I'm not from around California, so it was important for me to sometimes disconnect from work and go explore the area. It was actually my first time in the state, so there was a lot of exploring for me. Definitely prioritize getting a good night's sleep. I know the dorms can feel like a party, but sometimes you need to just go to bed and get a good night's sleep. Trying new hobbies and things. I did a lot of hiking this summer. I went rock climbing for the first time, which was fun. And it's important to prioritize the work-life balance. Um, yeah, here's some pictures from the hikes we did. We went to Half Moon Bay and I saw the Pacific Ocean for the first time. So definitely important to do things outside of work. Um, I think it's also really important to get to know the people around you during your internship. Get involved with activities going on around the lab. Join intergroup chats. We had Discord and group chats for people to connect with each other. If people wanted to go to a certain place or try a certain activity, you can send a message to see who else is interested. You can also attend staff socials and events. This picture of the dog is actually from a staff social. They had a bunch of therapy dogs at Slack for all of us to come pet. That was really fun. Also, me and some friends went to the Monterey Bay Aquarium and Great America, which was super cool. So even though you will be working 40 hours a week, there is still so much time to get to know people and have a good experience. I'd like to thank the SAGE program for helping connect me with this opportunity, the DOE High Energy Physics Group for the funding for my internship, and to my mentor, Jo Beth, for making it such an amazing experience.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lauren. Do we have any questions in the chat? If not yet, I know we had some submitted online ahead of time, and so some folks are wondering, what do you see as some of the differences between doing more engineering internships compared to maybe your peers' experiences on more research-focused projects?
Yeah, I think it was almost like a really good mix of both because even though I wasn't directly doing any research, I was learning about the process of research. It also gave me kind of a different perspective on career paths than people who were just doing research. I got to hear about the work backgrounds and educational backgrounds of people who have worked in consulting, big tech companies, so I feel like it gave me a really good perspective and introduced me to more opportunities. I also got to do a lot more individual smaller projects as opposed to just having one big overarching project over my whole internship, which for me, as someone who only finished their first year, was really important to me because I'm not really sure like what part of civil engineering I want to do yet. So getting to do some structural, some environmental, some more traditional civil projects was really helpful for me. So I think even though I wasn't doing research in the way that other people were doing research, it was still a really good experience for me.
Nice. And we've got one in the chat about what was it like moving for the internship?
Oh yeah, I don't think anyone's touched on the dorms yet. So we were in the Stanford dorms, our housing was included. The dorms, pretty standard, pretty nice dorms. I liked it a lot. Um, It was kind of scary at first because I'd never even been to the state of California, but a lot of the other interns outside of the SAGE program in like SULI and LCLS and those national programs are also not from the area, and also everyone at the lab is just very welcoming and excited for you to be there. So it was a little bit of an adjustment, but it wasn't too bad.
Nice. And I think you kind of answered that second question about integrating, um, since you talked about the multiple internship programs, and some of them
Mhm.
were also students who were traveling. And maybe
Started
one more
raising
on,
experience shown at ability. Meals to camp, internships to global abilities to not take paid internships.
sorry.
Sorry, I think you cut out.
Okay, sorry. What was your favorite part of the internship outside of the work?
Um, That's a really hard one because I got to see so many cool things in California, but we did a day trip to the Monterey Bay Aquarium and we got to see like all the sharks and the jellyfish and stuff, and I thought that was really cool.
Nice. And we're gonna move to the next speaker. Thank you so much, Lauren. And I know we've got a lot of questions in the chat. I'm trying to prioritize the ones about our interns' experiences, because in October we'll have the other um, Sage Live on internships. But thank you all so much for all the questions. It is exciting to um, our speakers to be have engaged an engaged audience. Our fourth speaker will be Ananya, who was hoping to land an internship at Slack, but could not find a mentor to match with her interest. The
Natalie,
good news,
sorry, I'm
sorry,
just gonna ask Lauren to stop sharing, please. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
all right, sorry. Our next speaker, Ananya. The good news is that the Los Alamos Sage team found her a mentor. I'm excited to hear more about that experience.
Hi everyone. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so this is my summer internship here in Los Alamos. Just a little bit about me. My name is Ananya. I'm originally from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And right now I'm going to be a senior actually this year in college at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque. I guess my background's a little different than a lot of what we've heard so far. So I'm studying business administration with concentrations in finance and management information systems. So my internship is kind of a little different and unique compared to what we've heard of as well. I graduate in next May, so I have just a year left really. Um, I attended the summer physics camp way back in 2019 here in New Mexico. I was in freshman in high school back then, so that was a while ago. And just some facts about me from school and college, I guess. I am a part of the Financial Management Association. I also am an officer within the Pre-Optometry Society. That doesn't really have much to do with what I'm studying. I don't really want to be an eye doctor or anything of that sort, but I get to use my background and apply it to that student organization. And I tutor at the business school currently. So I think it's not on. Okay, so now to get into my internship. So this summer, I interned here at Los Alamos National Laboratory, and I specifically worked in the laboratory directed research and development group. They're a really unique program that exists within quite a few different DOE labs, and they kind of the basis of what they do is they fund scientists' projects, and scientists, propose their ideas, and there's a huge like proposal process, selection process, all that. I didn't unfortunately get to work directly in that because of things like clearances and whatnot, but I got to kind of just learn about it and hear about it. So that was nice. But more specific to my task, um, Lanel especially has been really pushing for the use of AI, especially because it's so popular nowadays. So my internship, my mentors really wanted to incorporate that into my internship this summer. And specifically, there we do this really tedious process where we analyze publication data. So basically, like scientists end up publishing papers and whatnot. And we, as LDRD, want to see if there were specific projects that we had funded that contributed directly to those research papers. Um, and so we get quite a few hundred that we look through in like a really large Excel spreadsheet. And in the past, it was a manual thing where you read through each and every single row to try to see if there was any mention of LDRD or a LDRD project or something. But if we could use AI to speed that process up, that would be very helpful. So it was a matter of finding the right prompt, meeting the right people to kind of help me create the perfect formula so that you could sort of automate it. We were looking into like Python because that's a really big, easy way to automate the process. But I think there was so many different like specifications to each sort of case that it would have been a little too complicated. So prompt engineering was a really big piece of figuring out how to make this process useful to us. And in the end, typically it would take us maybe like 2 weeks to do manually. This ChatGPT process reduced that to maybe like 3 days. So significantly reduced our time and saved us a lot of time that we were able to spend on other things this summer. And now for professional growth. So like I said, I didn't really do much research or work in a lab like everyone else. I kind of had a more administrative position where I was working in Excel and, or meeting with people and whatnot. So the first skill that I developed was project management. That's something I'm interested in, especially with a business kind of background. And more specifically, since I'm also focusing on finance within my studies, I focus on finance within project management. So my mentors were so wonderful that they were able to connect me with finance professionals at Lanel. So I got to meet with a lot of budgeting analysts that are deployed to different groups at Lanel. I also got to meet with a really cool program that Lanel runs each year. They have a cohort of a few students that are freshly graduated that they kind of just train to be finance professionals at Lanel that are then given the chance to work directly for a group and kind of just see um, if that's what they're if that's where they're meant to be, and if not, they can kind of move around, and it just helps them develop their career. And it's like a really great entry level kind of development for them. And then networking, of course. So we, again, back to those Miss CEO sessions. Specifically, the second session was working on building professional relationships. So, and that has a lot to do with networking. So I think just learning how to put yourself out there. Don't be nervous about talking to people, especially I know we're very young and a lot of the people we met probably were way older, very into their careers, but I think just making a good impression, showing interest really helps secure good relationships that can be useful for the future. And, that LinkedIn, of course, really, really useful tool. Definitely utilize LinkedIn, message people that you feel like there's an interest towards working with and whatnot, and just set up a time to chat. That's very useful. And then last but not least, I developed how to work in a professional environment. I've had a lot of different jobs throughout like my university, but I feel like those are different because I'm working with a lot of people my own age, a lot of my peers. So there's a little bit of a more laid back kind of environment in those scenarios. But here at Atlanta, especially in my group, I was the only intern. I was the only person my age. Everyone else had been there for 15, 20 years, are very deep into their careers. So I got to learn to work with people older than me, work in a very professional setting. It was a very small team as well. So I got to work one on one with a lot of people and make really intimate relationships that way because it was such a small environment. And I got to meet people from so many different backgrounds. So, yeah, I kind of am interested in finance, but I met people who within LDRD who are very into like the chemistry side of things. And, it's like a cool thing to hear about and learn about and build connections with people from different places and different backgrounds because you never know, you could end up there one day too. And I just want to thank Sage for helping me find this opportunity. I wouldn't have had an internship this summer really if it weren't for them. And I want to thank the DOE High Energy Physics Group. I want to thank my mentors, Deborah Wagner and Lexi Tyler, and all of the LDRD team at Lanel. And then I also want to thank Dr. Anna Yobet she helped me get connected with LDRD and actually find the internship. And if you guys want to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's just my name, Ananya Mulakala. Feel free to just add me on there. Reach out to me if you need anything.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ananya. I work on the LDRD program here, so I am excited about this advancement. So I know we've got two more speakers and we want to get to them, but let's see if there's at least one or two questions to take here on your internship. That's okay. We have some that came in beforehand. So what did you, so what kind of courses or experiences do you think were helpful in getting, some of the skills that you needed to start this internship?
I think especially as someone more on the administrative side and like business side, Excel is so useful.
Mhm.
Work on those Excel skills. I use it a lot in school too, so it was kind of nice. I had some practice with it, but Excel is so useful. It's so important, especially like on the administrative side, especially on the budgeting and financial side of things. That's how they keep track of expenses, costs. That's how they like allocate funds to scientists to use for their projects. So Excel is so important.
Great. And maybe, how did your experience at Lanel help you now in college? Or
Ooh,
I guess, how do you anticipate?
yeah. So I think like uniquely being from New Mexico, a really huge industry here is the National Lab. We have Los Alamos and we also have another one, Sandia. So I think now like I think in the past you never, especially again being as a business major, you don't think that there's a business side to things like a lab. You know, you always think, oh, there's just scientists who do research. But there's so much more to that. And I think learning about the fact that there's an opportunity within a national lab for me to have a career is so it was a really great thing to like hear about because I had never been aware of that before. And now I think just knowing that like I have opportunities like for when I graduate, I'm not as stressed and worried, I guess, because graduation's coming up for me, and it's time for me to find a my next opportunity. And now that I have the labs as an opportunity to look and search for something for my career. So that's a really good, comforting thing I got to experience.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you so much. Um, our next speaker will be Emma Diaz. And what's interesting about her experience is that at Slack, the interns must be 18 years or older. Other labs are different and have programs for high schoolers, but not Slack at this time. Emma finished high school last May, turned 18, and was matched with a mentor who she connected with at Sage Camp just last year. Emma, welcome to our Sage Live.
Hello. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. Here we go. Okay, there it is. All right. So, as you heard, I was a Sage intern at Slack National Accelerator Laboratory, and I'm Emma Victoria Diaz. So, I'm going to do a bit about myself. I am from Salinas, California. This is me graduating just this year. And I'm UC Davis student, right? I'm going to be class of 2029, and I'm going to be majoring in mechanical engineering. You see here, I'm hoping you can see my mouse, but this is my dog Blizzard, and that's with a B because people think I say lizard. It's Blizzard, and she is my favorite in the whole wide world. I also love doing art. In this top right, that's a coaster, and I use it at the dorm when I stayed there. I also like playing video games. I used to play it a lot more, but now things are getting serious. So when I started my internship, my hours went all the way down, but I still love playing in my free time. And also my free time, this is actually a picture of me playing guitar in my dorm room at appropriate hours, okay? Not keeping anyone up at night, I promise. Now let's get to what you guys are here for. My projects. So I actually had multiple projects, but these are my favorite ones that I want to talk about. So the first one we're going to talk about is the liquid jet extender part that I made. And the other one we're going to talk about is vacuum assembly. But for the liquid jet extender, it's a part that I made for experimental setup. So this part actually existed before, but the physicist wanted it refined to suit her needs better. So I worked with engineers and the physicist to improve the design, and we actually went through a whole bunch of iterations. This is, I think, the third version, and I say that like third, because I'm pretty sure we had like tiny, minute, like changes we had to make along the way. Let me see. And then I had to improve the design, of course, and I created an engineering drawing multiple times. So I got really good at this because this was my first time ever using CAD, which is an engineering software where you can make 3D models of parts you want to make. So I made a lot of engineering drawings. I got really good at that in the end. They look pretty complex when I first saw them, but now I can read them pretty well. So I'm pretty proud of that. And that's pretty much how the part works now. I actually finished it fully on my last day. So talk about cutting it close. So let me just talk about these pictures. You probably noticed, but on the top right here is the finished part. Bottom right is the assembly that it's going to look like when it's attached to the actual machine, and it's blue. They're different colors. It's the same part. Don't worry about it. And the middle here is, of course, the drawing. Okay, this is my favorite part, vacuum assembly. I loved vacuum assembly. Oh my gosh. So what is happening right now at LCLS is they're having their high energy upgrade. Because the high energy upgrades happening, they need more radiation shielding or better radiation shielding because there's going to be more radiation. So they need to protect, of course, the people around them. So I helped with assembling this. Here is like the base of the shielding panel. This box actually goes on top of the whole enclosure. I wish I took an actual picture of it, but this is what it looked like before. This is what it looked like after. And this is me next to it. For context, I'm 5'3". So this is how big it is. So more vacuum assembly. This one I have better pictures. You can see me there working. So I assembled vacuum flanges, and they have copper gaskets in between. But I want to go into like, they have a super specific tightening sequence because in a vacuum, you want it to be a vacuum. You can't have any air coming inside. So you have to tighten the bolts in a certain order so the pressure is equalized around the gasket or around the flange, so no air gets in between. So I learned how to do that tightening sequence. And I also installed radiation shielding brackets to the enclosure. And I want to talk about this real quick, but oh my gosh. So this is my first time ever doing anything hands-on, right? And they tossed me a wrench and said, okay, get in there. And I mind you, these technicians are like these dudes, right? But I'm smaller, but they were like so nice. And I learned I was actually pretty useful because they needed to put these bolts in, like finger screw it in first, and they couldn't reach in there, but I could because I have thinner fingers. So this was a really fun experience. They were so nice and helpful. And I got, you get nervous sometimes working next to these professionals who have been doing it for a long time. But they were very nice and sweet. And I actually feel pretty confident now handling wrenches and just getting your hands dirty. I think I can't really see this image. Oh, here we go. You see, I'm happy. I'm smiling. This is true. I was so happy that day. And right here, this is how I felt. Okay, professional growth topic. I want to talk about staying positive because that is so important when going into a new space, a new area. And I talk from my heart here because, like that was mentioned, I haven't really gone to like something that's this professional. This was actually my first ever job. So it was pretty scary jumping from really no experience to going straight into National Laboratory intern. It was really scary at first, and I was really nervous because, like I said, little prior experience. And so, of course, you're going to get a bit of imposter syndrome. Should I be here? All these other people, they look like they know what they're doing, right? They look so cool and mature and amazing. And can I do that? But I learned as you're going that, everyone's learning at the same time. And as my other fellow interns have said, people are here to help. Your mentor is there to help. So just, staying positive is something you hear a lot and it's harder to do in practice. But what I like to do, cognitive triangle, is to remember that each of like your thoughts and feelings, behaviors are all connected. So if you're nervous about something about starting, it's good to just try a first step. Try like diving into it. And maybe you'll start thinking, okay, maybe it's not too bad, or I'm getting the hang of it. And you'll start feeling better about yourself or better about the moment. So always try, And I remember I was so nervous when I first started. And at the end, I was confident. I didn't want to leave, So everything's connected. Everything's connected. That's the moral of the story. And I want to say thank you to Sage, DOE High Energy Physics Department, and of course, Elena, Mary McConnell. Oh my gosh, she's the goat. She is the goat. She's the only reason really that I got this. Not the only reason, but she's a big, huge part of the reason why I got this. She was super patient, especially with me because I had a huge learning curve, but she was really patient, just an amazing person. And the XPP team, because they're the people who also helped me with installation and with the engineering part I mentioned earlier of the liquid jet extender. And the influential people of Nicholas Perry and Nita, of course, for her Miss CEO, and Nicholas because he also is going to, he went to Davis, sorry, as an engineer, and he helped me a lot with just talking about Davis and my experiences. There we go. Ooh, there's my presentation. Done.
Thank you, Emma. We already have a question in the chat. Actually two, and they look kind of similar. So what was it like going into this internship right after high school? And yes, with more limited experience, and maybe how was that different from some of the other interns who are in college maybe or have already completed some year?
So I don't think I mentioned this, but I got this internship because when I was in Sage, I connected with my team lead, and she actually became my mentor. So I talked to her about getting this internship, and she was like, okay, she's cool. But I already mentioned that. But yeah, like I said, it was a huge jump going from high school to this internship. I think, like I said, it seems really impossibly big because this is not McDonald's or something. This is like a lab. But yeah, so it's a huge learning curve. I will say that. I think it was mentioned a lot, but you do understand stuff later on. You still learn and you still adapt and you still grow. And while I was towards the end there and towards the middle too, I found myself saying, okay, I belong here. I can see myself on this team of people. And I think that's very important to experience because it kind of shows you that wherever you go, you are enough and you can learn enough to not only adapt, but thrive in the environment you're put in.
Nice. So we also have a question about coming from Salinas. Was there anything here that you would recommend? And maybe for those who are not in the Bay Area, or in California, Salinas is a little bit, I mean, it's within the greater Bay Area, but it's a little bit more rural and agricultural, I would say, maybe. And so Emma can probably provide a little more context there.
Yeah, so I am from Salinas, but I do go to school at Hollister. But they're both my communities. I consider them both my communities. Like I said, I didn't really have any major experience prior. Like my main connection was Sage, but like always when you're in a high school, when I'm thinking about what I would have told myself is it's not don't stress yourself out too much about the future because what my mentor told me is like your undergrad is the same no matter which college you go to. I could have went to like I said community college. I could have went to like a regular CSU. It would have been the same because your undergrad is pretty blanket. What you're learning at, let's say, Stanford in your undergrad is the same thing you're going to be learning at, let's say, CSUMB in your undergrad. So I think, like, I didn't really do too much before. Just apply yourself and be passionate about what you learn. I think that's the biggest thing I did. I enjoyed what I learned and I got into it, like my physics class and my calculus class, kind of like that. But just chill, have a fun time. That's what I'm trying to say.
Great. Thank you so much, Emma. And we're going to move to our last and but certainly not least speaker. Samaya is joining us also from Slack. And so while in high school, she invited Sage to come speak at our school. And now in college, her Sage internship has her working with a mentor who also attended a local high school. Small world, big connections.
Thank you for the introduction. Let me share my screen. Slideshow. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I wanted to talk just a little bit about my 2025 Sage internship. This is here, me and my mentor, Sharon Prez. We were at a picnic that my department had hosted for us. So yeah, a little bit about me. I'm a rising sophomore at the University of California, Santa Cruz, also known as UCSC. I am a technology and information management major with a minor in CS. Like Natalie had mentioned, I went to school at Palo Alto High School, which is very close to Slack. It's like, so yeah, like I'm from the area, really close to it. A little bit more about me at school. I have two jobs. I work in a makerspace with laser cutters, 3D printers, and like other cool machines. And I basically like teach people how to use them, and I do my own projects. And then I will also be starting my second job as a peer advisor at the Baskin Engineering School at Santa Cruz. And I was unfortunately online for my SAGE camp in 2021 when I was between my freshman and my sophomore year. Yeah, so this is my department, FACET, also stands for Facility for Advanced Accelerator Experimental Tests. It's really funny because the C comes from the C in accelerator, so it's like a forced acronym. So we're always joking about that. But a little bit more about FACET. So the accelerator is obviously up here, 3 kilometers long. FACET is the third, is in the middle. It's 1 kilometer. And this is a little just overview of FACET. So like you have like the electron source here. You have bunch compressors, which basically like compress electrons. Yeah, so going back really quick to my major, I just forgot to mention this, but I've come more from a business and CS side, so I had to learn a lot about the physics, which I will explain a little more, but yeah. So one of FACET's goals is to reduce like the length of accelerators, because right now obviously it's like 3 kilometers long, but with the work that they're doing, it could help reduce accelerators to just a few kilometers. And this would really help advance research and just allow more experiments to take place simultaneously. So this is a drawing of FACET. So L0, L1, and L2 are kind of where my work kind of fell into place, which is where the which is where the beam is accelerated. In these places, there are these things called quadrupole magnets, which basically keep the beam focused. I had to learn a lot about this. This is very like physics heavy, but for my project, I worked on a graphical user interface, which would be doing optics matching, which in very simple terms is basically just like adjusting these quadrupole magnets so that the beam is like properly hitting the targets it needs to hit. If it doesn't do that, then like the electron bunches that I talked about earlier, they would spread, they would hit the walls, they would lose energy, it won't focus, and it could possibly damage equipment, or it could like just fail to produce good results. So like I said, a graphical user interface, also known as a GUI, it kind of wrapped all like the measurements, the calculations. We have like the measured twist values here that basically is what is used to make the calculations, and then the GUI will tell you kind of what the magnet settings need to be to properly align the beam. And yeah, so this helps just make the process for scientists more efficient, because from these like drop down controls and everything, it can help the scientists grab the values that they need. They don't have to like go hunting for it themselves. And also they don't have to write the code or do the calculations themselves. They now have an interface to do the calculation for them. So it just helps like fine tune the magnets, make sure that the beam is focused and it hits the target. And since they don't have to do the calculation themselves, it reduces error, it saves time, and it just improves how the accelerator performs. And this really just contributed to my team because it just made processes more efficient in the accelerator control room. Going on to the skills, one of the skills that I had to develop was really just learning how to decipher physics materials, because I obviously, like I said, come from a CS and business background, so I have never taken a physics class. So I had to really like dive deep and like understand the physics concepts, and I had to like ask a lot of questions because I was making my GUI was for other scientists. I had to make sure that other scientists understood what was on my GUI and it wasn't just like a bunch of random stuff. And then the other skill was that Python object-oriented programming, which is OOP. This was something that I learned in my classes at UC Santa Cruz, but through this project, I really got to use it. It's basically like your basic like classes, like function calling, callbacks, which is what I was mainly doing in my internship. And then also another thing was like I focused on like how to make a UI design, because I had to make sure that this was something that the scientists could like easily understand and like know where to click first and like what buttons to go through. I had to also like research and look through the other GUIs that were previously made at Slack to make sure that they were kind of like following like a similar kind of pattern so that once a user opens it up, they know exactly what to do and they don't have to spend a lot of time just like figuring out how the GUI works. Oh. So my professional growth was reframing limiting beliefs. One of the things I came into this internship saying was I don't have a lot of knowledge. I've only taken like I think 2 CS classes at my school currently. But I think one of the other mentors said on my very first day was you can do a lot with a little, which is what kind of like helps me keep going in my internship. I had very little like knowledge. I had just like the basic understanding from my lectures, but through like documentation online, I was able to like slowly just start chipping away at my project and I was able to start making my project. And then one of my goals was just talking to people around Slack. But one of the things that was holding me back was like, why would anyone want to talk to an intern? There's so many busy people out there. They have so many meetings to go to. They have so many important things to do. Like, why would they want to talk to me? But what I decided to step out of my comfort zone and I was just like, I'm gonna send the email. I don't have to think about it after sending the email. I'm just gonna send a nice thought out email to them and let them decide if they want to talk to me, or what next steps that they might want to do. Um, this allowed me to connect with a couple of different people. I was able to connect with Grace, who does like CSN biology, which was something I was interested in. I got to talk to Anita a little more one-on-one, just like about her business experiences, and also Natalie about her business experiences. Because as I said, I'm from business and CS, so I have like a wide variety of things I'm interested in. And each of these conversations gave me like a new outlook on life. They gave me advice and they gave me like a more of like a direction that I can go in. And since I'm just like a rising sophomore, I like now have so many more resources that I would not have had access to or would not have even thought of if it weren't for these conversations. And my favorite part about talking to the different people is just like hearing about their life story and hearing about like the path that they took to get where they are. Because I find that like there's so many jobs out there you've never heard of, but like just talking to people and connecting really helps. And yeah, like I said, I was in the facet department. It was a great department. They hosted like spooky tours and like Olympic games and like it was great. I loved it. I'm so happy I got to meet them. This was like the other interns like in the facet department. They hosted like picnics. And this was like a lot of like the tours that like also Sage took us on. And yeah, to end off, I want to thank my mentor, Sharon Prez. I want to thank the FACET team. I want to thank Sage, Daniela, Julia, Loy. You guys did such an amazing job making it such an amazing experience. And I want to thank the Department of Energy. And yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Great to see a shout out to myself in there. Do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah, I did say spooky tour, Loy. Yeah. There was one of the mentors took us on tours around like kind of like more abandoned and like places that like people don't really go into anymore, which was fun. It was cool. I got to like learn more about like the physics there too and like just like kind of like the history of Slack.
Nice. Well, I can pull one from, why did you decide to be an intern there, despite your major being kind of a different field?
So I honestly am interested in like a lot of like different areas. Going into college, I was gonna study psychology and then I switched over to CS and technology. In like high school, I took like biology chem classes. So I just had like a very like wide variety of interests. So I kind of just told that to Loy and I was like, hey Loy, um like I have these interests, like do you think there's like anyone like any projects that I can join in on? And so Loy was able to connect me to my mentor and I was like able to like work on like CS and like my CS skills and like designing skills. And I think the best part about like Slack is like you don't know about the opportunities till you're here. Because I think like Ananya had mentioned earlier, like you think that it's a lot of like physics heavy, like scientist experiment, but there's also like a lot of other opportunities, which is why I decided to do here. Yeah, I was like all over the place. And I still am all over the place, but it's like I love learning, so
Nice. And maybe to build on that, so do you think that that wide variety of interests was helpful to you?
I think it was. I think having an open mind to just learning. I was very scared of the physics, but I just had like an open mind and I was like, it's okay. Like, and everyone was like really like nice and like explaining it. Even like the other interns were like sometimes like explaining the concepts. And like science is just so interesting. So I think like keeping an open mind to learning, especially with our like world like changing with AI, and like it's really important to like have an open mind to like learning new skills, learning new topics, so you can kind of like fit yourself into like wherever.
So I know we only have a couple minutes left. I have to, do some last minute wrap up, but I think that's a wonderful point. And something we've heard from almost every speaker today is that, you can bring in some skills and experiences to your internship, whether that's um, experiences you had at Sage in a certain field and you want to learn more about that, whether that's Excel or engineering or pipetting. But almost everyone said that their interest and their network were really important. And almost everyone was saying they were doing stuff for the first time. And so I know were a lot of questions we didn't get to in the chat about preparing yourself for an internship, but it's important to remember that you don't have to know it all. And you're going to be learning and going through that growth experience in your internship. With that, I want to say thank you to all of the interns who presented today, all of their advice and their inspiration for the future interns who may be sitting in the audience today. We also have some pre-recorded videos from a couple of other interns who couldn't make it right now. So we have one, Sophia Horn, who was at LANL looking at mass spectrometry. We've got one from Ella Rodriguez who was doing coding at Slack, and a third from Michelle Huang, who was working on machine learning and AI at Slack as well. So those will be, if they're not in the chat right now, they will for sure be in the email that you receive afterwards. And as we've mentioned a couple times, if you're interested in a summer internship for 2026, you want to make sure to attend the Sage Live in October. We'll have representatives from each of the labs who will share the internship opportunities that they offer. And it's going to answer a lot of the questions that we didn't get to today. A reminder to follow us on social media. And you can always contact us at info@mysagejourney.org. With that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend.